Like us on Facebook at We Got Ed, and thanks so much for that. RT America, that's where I work here in Washington, D.C. The news with Ed Schultz starts on January 25th, Monday night, 8 p.m., Monday through Thursday on RT America. Then we're going to be taping during the week a sit-down interview with a key player in American politics, which will play on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on RT. And if you're thinking correctly, it would be a 3-day weekend, but it was also going to be an opportunity to go around the country and do the stories that I know that are very important. So this is a very exciting opportunity for me. And a man that you're going to see on the news with Ed Schultz quite often is this gentleman, John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation magazine. John, good to have you with us.
It is always a pleasure to be with you, Ed.
You bet. All right. Liberals did not anticipate a dust-up between Hillary and Bernie over health care. How do you think the progressive community is responding to the back and forth on this?
You're absolutely right that people did not anticipate that this was going to be the line where people started fighting over. And my sense is that the Clinton campaign is making an error in trying to do the lines of division here. And I think the reason for that is that they are, to my mind, underestimating the extent to which grassroots activists, Democratic voters, kind of people who would vote in caucuses and in primaries, are aware of and, frankly, quite sympathetic to a single-payer Medicare for all model, the sort of thing that Sanders has long advocated for, and, frankly, that an awful lot of Democrats have advocated for. Remember, many of the people who are endorsing Hillary Clinton for president and sincerely backing her are also backers of single payer. People like Tammy Baldwin, the senator from Wisconsin. So I just don't see it as a particularly great strategy.
It's a terrible strategy, and also because the Republicans have voted to get rid of what's out there right now. So, I mean, it's an all-or-nothing campaign right now, Republican versus Democrat, because the Republicans don't have a plan out there. But of all things, and she's trying to say that there would be a big tax increase, when it's been documented by my colleague Tom Hartman that it would be a savings to every American family if we did have universal health care, because every family is not sick, you know, and everybody would be paying in. So I don't know. I'm surprised at this. I think Chelsea embarrassed herself on the campaign trail. I think it sets the table for Bernie Sanders to really address it in the next debate. How do you think that's going to unfold?
Well, first off, I think that all the discussion about Chelsea Clinton has to be viewed as totally secondary. It should not. It shouldn't be, where this is at all. And I'll tell you why. This can't turn into some sort of personalities, or do you like this person, or what do you like what this kid of this candidate said?
Well, John, her substance was terrible. That's the point. And she was used by the Clinton campaign to try to influence. That's the point.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I am saying that that's not the place where anybody ought to go on this thing.
Yeah.
Where they ought to go is to the substance itself. Go to the heart of the matter. And the fact is that in this debate, if the moderators are doing any kind of good job at all, they're going to bring this issue up, right? And the question to be asked, the real question to be asked is, are you in favor of health care as a right? You start with that basic concept. If your answer is yes, and I think all three candidates up there will say yes, then the question is, well, how do you, if it's a right, if everybody has a right to decent health care in this country, then how do you guarantee that? Because we're not even there yet. President Obama's brought us a long way. I mean, give him immense credit. But, we've still got a lot of work to do to wire this thing together. And then let them have their debate. If Hillary Clinton wants to say there's some sort of, and I'm going to use this word, advisedly, convoluted way to get everybody health care, working with insurance companies and doing all these different, steps and twists and turns, that's fine. But I'm going to tell you, I think in a debate setting, a simple, clear explanation of single-payer Medicare for all health care is going to come over very well. And, Ed, there's an answer. When you say it's going to raise taxes, it's going to devastate everything, it's going to be all these problems. Ed, we created a single-payer system in this country in the mid-1960s with a stroke of the pen. Mm-hmm. Lyndon Johnson looked at the scorching poverty among the elderly, rooted in health care costs. And what did he do? He created Medicare and Medicaid. And those single-payer programs have worked unimaginably well. People love them. And so I think if that's where this discussion goes, my sense is it's going to be a very, frankly, a pretty strong one for Sanders.
I think the next poll out, the next true survey, now that we've had about 3 days of this dust-up on health care, the next poll out between the two candidates in Iowa is going to be very interesting to see if this has any kind of effect whatsoever. There's no doubt, since Bernie has been getting more coverage with the mainstream media because they have to, because of his fundraising and his crowds, I mean, he just will not go away in their mind the way they think. They don't want to cover him. He's moving up, and it's much tighter right now. The whole issue now is turnout. You've spent a lot of time in Iowa, so has Nina Turner, who we talked to earlier. I mean, some of the things I'm hearing, it could be a record turnout at these caucuses over this.
Oh, I expect it will be. Look, I think the caucuses have been on an upward trajectory. You always get an unclear read because we have these off cycles. In 2012, you had low, caucus turnout. It wasn't a big deal because Obama was unopposed. But if you go back to 2008, they were going to record turnout, right? Mm-hmm. I don't see any reason why that won't move continually on that direction. So I think there's going to be a bump. But, Ed, the real question is this. How big a bump? And I've said to you before, I'll say it again. If you and I were sitting in a parking lot at some school or some, hall in Iowa, and if you see young people, folks, frankly, under 40, driving up in their cars, and probably a used car, an older car, and parking and going into that caucus, and a lot of them, then you're going to have to bet that Sanders is doing very, very well. Yeah. On the other hand, if the turnout skews toward a more traditional caucus turnout, my sense is that that's going to be good for Clinton, although one thing to emphasize is a lot of those older traditional caucus goers are people who have, for a very long time, fought these health care fights.
No doubt, no doubt. John Nichols, always good to visit. Great to have you with us. We'll do it again. See you on the tube, my friend. Thank you.
Take care, brother.
John Nichols, Washington correspondent of The Nation. We ask you to support our sponsors on our website at wegoted.com. They're with us again in 2016. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team. Have a great weekend. We're back Monday.